We're from Allendale, not the
The only one,
No.
Good evening, councillors, CEO and executive, and those joining us in our virtual gallery on Facebook. We are very, very delighted to actually be here in person, a sign hopefully of good things to come and hopefully an easing of further restrictions. But it is good to be here in person. Fortunately, we can't have a live gallery yet, but we're very pleased that you're able to join us virtually. And so a warm welcome to our February Ordinary Council meeting. Councillors, the executive, I ask you please to be upstanding for the acknowledgement of country and the council prayer. I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the country of the Dja Wurrung. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the area we are on and their forebears. And we acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of the region. And I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Almighty God, we ask you to be present in this council, direct and guide our deliberations. We ask you to grant us wisdom and sensitivity as we deal with the business of our shire. May each decision that we make advance the well-being of all of our residents. This we pray. Amen. I apologise to those in the virtual gallery if the acknowledgement of country was a bit faint. Now I forgot to push I'll move that a bit closer too, so it's clear. So I apologise about that. Councillors, we have an agenda before us. Welcome again. We have no apologies. We have no leave of interest. Councillors, disclosure of conflict of interest. No disclosures. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous council meetings. Are there any concerns with the minutes as circulated? If not, I declare those confirmed. Minutes of delegated advisory committees, we have none. Petitions, we have none. Let's move straight to item 8, the officers' reports. And item 8.1, the update of instruments of delegation by council to staff, seeking a motion.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Bella. And your motion?
The motion, the recommendation in the exercise of the powers conferred by the legislation referred to in the attached instrument of delegation, Central Goldfields Shire Council resolves that there be delegated to members of the council staff holding, acting in, performing of duties of the officers or positions referred to in the attached instrument of delegation to members of council staff the powers, duty and functions set out in the instrument, subject to the conditions and limitations specified in that instrument. Number 2, the instrument comes into force immediately. Council adopts the resolution. Number 3, on the coming into force of the instrument, all previous delegations by council to members of council staff, other than the chief executive officer, are revoked. And then number 4, the duties and functions set out in the instrument must be performed, and the powers set out in the instruments must be executed in accordance with any guidelines or policies of council that it may from time to time adopt.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bella. A seconder to the motion. Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Councillor Bella, inviting you to talk to the motion.
No, this is a procedural motion, Mr Mayor, and it's to meet the requirements of the Act.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor de Villiers, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Other councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you. 8.2, Council Plan Action Progress Report. As is customary, or customary of the last year or so, we've invited the CEO to address us on this and before we actually seek a motion, because it's an opportunity for the CEO to actually present and share some of the information that's there about the activities of the office and share those both with us as a council. We've been briefed, but importantly too with those in our virtual gallery. So, Ms. Roffey, I'll invite you to present the progress report from the Council Action Plan.
Thank you, Mayor.
The annual action plan outlines a number of actions and activities that the officers undertake during the year, which are really about implementing the council plan and the direction of council. There are 79 actions that are identified in the plan, and the report tonight is as of 31 December, so it's for the first 6 months. Of those items, 15 are complete, 56 are underway. There are 7 that are yet to be completed, or items that will be perhaps happening the last quarter, and there's 1 that's not progressing. And the one that's not progressing will be that grant funding was not able to be attracted for that item. The success of those actions are really also reflected in the financial reports that you see tonight as well. So I think, as everyone knows, we've got a $20 million capital works program this year, and we've spent 7 or 8 million of that, which is more in capital works than we normally spend in 1 year. So that in itself also indicates just the amount of work that has been undertaken. There are other items such as the plans for the Toledo Rec Reserve that are on the council plan council meeting tonight, and that again is one of the actions that's been completed, where the action was to complete concept plans. So there's a lot going on, and I would want to congratulate the staff again for getting a lot of work done in, again, another tough period with COVID. And I think the community can see a lot of the work going on at the moment. There's a lot of roadworks going on. There's been a lot of community consultation and involvement in plans and strategies. And we'll continue, hopefully, to get the rest of the actions complete by 30 June. As we develop at the moment, we're developing our budget and our annual action plan for next year, and we start to plan for 22-23. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roffey. Seeking a motion, councillors. Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Your motion.
That the sorry, I've lost my place. That council note as detailed in the report, an update on the status of the projects identified in the 2021-22 action plan.
Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. A second to that motion. Councillor Sproul. Councillor de Villiers talking to the motion, please.
Yes. I would just like to add to what the CEO has said. The council plan action progress report is a fascinating document to read. I would encourage everybody to make an effort and to look at the actions that have started, commenced and finished. This document provides a window into what is happening behind the scenes. And I think we don't always realize it's like a duck swimming under the water. You only see the body moving, but you don't see the feet. And I think this action progress report will very adequately illustrate the feet that's moving. Congratulations, CEO and team.
Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Councillor Sproul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, the annual action plan was adopted at the ordinary meeting in July 2020. The 2021-2022 action plan was developed to support the achievements of the strategic objectives identified in the council plan, and to provide a reporting framework to measure progress against the council plan. The 2021 action plan, the progress outlines the progress report outlines the progress of the items in the annual action plan. There's 79 actions in total. Some of these items are across a number of years to carry through each year's action reports, but in summary, there's 56 in progress, 15 completed, 7 not due to start, and 1 not progressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Other councillors? I just want to say well done. And I mean, it is a massive amount of work by a small amount of staff across a huge variety of areas. And who in business would want, when they say stick to the knitting, would want all of those areas? And so much there. Congratulations to the staff. Well done. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 8.3, the Audit and Risk Committee biannual report to Council. Councillor seeking a motion. Thank you, Councillor Love.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move that Council note the Audit and Risk Committee biannual report to Council.
Thank you, councillor Lovett. A second to that motion. Thank you, councillor Murphy. Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The government have legislated that the activities of the Audit and Risk Committee be reported to council biannually. The report has been prepared by the independent chair, John Watson. John is one of the most experienced and respected people in local government. We're very lucky to have him with us on our committee, along with the other two independent members. The committee meet quarterly. They review virtually every aspect of council operations. They receive reports from the CEO, council's internal auditor, quarterly finance reports and performance statements. Along with this, that committee reviews policies. In the last quarter, we reviewed corporate purchase card policy, caravans and camping on private land, and Food Act compliance and enforcement. I've got to say the meetings are very intensive with many questions being asked, but at the end of the day, an extremely valuable committee.
Thank you, councillor Lovett. Councillor Murphy. Nothing to add? Any other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 8.5, 8.4, the strategic risk register. Councillor seeking a motion. Thank you, councillor Villiers, and your motion.
That council adopt the strategic risk register attached to the February 2022 report of the manager, governance, property and risk.
Thank you. And a second to the motion. Thank you, councillor Murphy. Councillor Villiers, talking to the motion, please.
Thank you. The risk register needs to be updated on a regular basis, and this also forms one of the main documents that the Audit and Risk Committee uses to guide their activities. And I personally love risk for some reason, I don't know why. But anyway, so a really interesting document to read. And I would encourage people to just have a look at it and see what kind of risks that we have to contend with and try to counter as an organisation. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Villiers. Councillor Murphy. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Item 8.5, jump to that a bit early, I think. The section 11A, instrument of appointment and authorisation. These come to us from time to time. Seeking a motion. Thank you, councillor Vella. And a second, councillor Sprout. Councillor Vella.
It's recommendation that council adopt the attached S11A instrument of appointment and authorisation for members of council staff set out in the instrument attached to the December 2021 report of Manager, Governance, Property and Risk, S11A, instrument of appointment and authorisation. Number 2, the S11A instrument of appointment and authorisation comes into force immediately and remains in force until council determines to vary or revoke it, that the attached S11 instrument of appointment and authorisation be signed by the Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sprout, you're prepared to second there. Councillor Lavella, you want to talk to the motion?
No, this is purely another procedural motion for the purpose of the S11A instrument of appointment. Authorisation is required due to staffing changes at council, and the instrument must be adopted by council to be active.
Thank you. Councillor Sprout, anything you want to say?
No, nothing further to add. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All show. Those, the motion is carried. Item 8.6, the erratum issue for annual report. This is one that we don't get, so this is a rather one-off. Okay, so what I will do, I think perhaps an officer's introduction to the report might be helpful for the gallery. Councillors have been briefed on it. So, Mr. Smith, would you be prepared to please just give an introduction to this item and the reason for it?
Thanks, Mayor. The report is to correct errors that were identified in the previously presented annual report for the 2021 financial year. There was from feedback from the community where we did a review. Some of the areas included the report entitled Report of Operations had data for the performance statement. The performance statement, which should follow the financial statements, was omitted, and the calculation of one of the measures, which was the cost per elected representative, included some administrative costs for our governance team. So we've corrected that measure as well. I do note that the errors were administrative in nature, and their Radam issue corrects the record. Also should note that there's no impact to the audited financial statements or the audited performance statements, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. That was helpful. Seeking a motion, councillors. Thank you, Councillor Sproul, on the motion.
I'd like to move that council note that the erratum to the annual report 2020-2021 has been issued.
Thank you. A second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Councillor Sproul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I think the General Manager there summed up things very well. I think most importantly, the list of errors are in the report. Attached is the updated annual report. Yeah, there's a list of items that were added. So if anyone's interested, get the amended annual report and have a read.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Councillor de Villiers. Any other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All show. The motion is carried. Item 8.7, the Audit and Risk Committee Charter Update. Seeking a motion. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Murphy, on the motion.
The council approved the attached draft Audit and Risk Committee Charter in accordance with Section 54 of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you. And a second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor Lovett. Councillor Murphy talks the motion.
You'll have to concur with Councillor Lovett for 8.3 on the Audit and Risk Committee members, and I'm very happy to be on that committee. And it is something that's really invigorating, and it's where you can understand more about local government. The leader of the committee, John Watson, is been there for about 4 years now, and he's fantastic, 4 or 5 years. So he is really good. So this really is just an audit of the charter and an update of the charter. So if people want to go and have a look at it, it's on page 19 of the document, and you can read all the background information. But I just want to put that across. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Lovett.
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.8, the Delidio Pavilion Denali proposal. Seeking a motion. Thank you, Councillor Long, and the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. My motion is the recommendation that Council 1 notes the Delidio Pavilion concept plans, and number 2 supports officers to continue to work with local groups to investigate funding options and provide support for making grant applications.
And we note that you move that motion happily and joyfully. And a second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Councillor Long speaking joyfully to that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the Mayor. It would be remiss of me not to say how absolutely stoked I am to move this recommendation. Since becoming the councillor for Flynn Ward, I've attended the Delidio Sports Committee Inc. meetings, and I'm so proud of this small but enthusiastic group of volunteers who, mind you, have worked tirelessly for many, many years now, and there's been previous members that have moved on, so I'd also like to thank them. To bring the new Delidio Pavilion a reality. The concept plans attached to our agenda are impressive, and if completed, will serve Denali and the wider community for many years to come. As it happened, there was a meeting last night, and as always, the passion around the table was tangible. At the end of the meeting, an action list was drawn up, and every member left with a list of jobs to continue working on for next month's meeting, myself included. The committee are hopeful that sufficient funding will be sourced in the not too distant future and have vowed to ramp up their own fundraising efforts this calendar year. watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor Zadini.
I would just like to say that as a Tallawarra Ward Councillor, having walked into a Rec Reserve Committee who got grants for up to $4 million, I wish you and the Lidio Committee all the luck, and I hope that you are successful and that you manage to gain some huge grants. And I also want to add is keep the dream up. No dream is too big. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillors? Put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.9, the play space strategy. Seeking a motion.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella, and the motion.
The council endorses the financial commitment of $39,375 and an in-kind commitment of $5,625 to support the development of a play space strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella, and the second to that. Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor Lavella, speak to the motion, please.
It is recommended that council endorse a commitment of $45,000 financial and in-kind to support a funding application to Sports and Recreation Victoria, which is commonly known as SRV, and it's the local sports infrastructure fund to develop our play space strategy. The Recreation Open Space Strategy 2020 and 2029, commonly known as ROS, was adopted by Council on the 22nd of September 2020. It outlines Council's strategic framework for active communities, active places and spaces. It is also recognised as a high priority, and the council undertakes a play space inventory review and utilises the results to develop the play space strategy. The strategy will establish clear directions with strong community support for the further development and management of our play spaces. It will propose solutions for a range of challenges that are potential risk issues for council and users, and they are all listed in the report. The total cost of the project is $75,000. The Local Sports Infrastructure Fund will be applying for statewide and extremely competitive. The funding ratio is $2 SRV to our $1. The projects must be able to commence within 6 months, and responsibility for projects sits with council. This is a fantastic opportunity to upgrade and develop our sporting and recreation vision. The play space strategy has been recognised, as I said before, as a key priority, and that application has been submitted to the 21-22 Local Sports Infrastructure Fund for $30,000 towards a total cost of $75,000. Therefore, council support is mandatory for a Sports Recreation Victoria to evaluate the application. Therefore, councillors, I trust there is no hesitation in supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bella. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the Mayor, I'm happy to second the play space strategy recommendation. As an early childhood educator, I know how important play is in the development in early childhood. Play allows children to use their creativity while developing their imagination, dexterity, and physical, cognitive, and emotional strength. Play is important to healthy brain development, and it is through play that children at a very early age engage and interact with the world around them. Outdoor experience can provide an opportunity to explore, discover, and appreciate the natural world, as well as be active, strengthen fine and gross motor movement skills, test physical limits, and get messy. Time spent in the outdoors should be an important part of the daily program for all children, including babies. I'm especially pleased to see that this strategy, amongst other items, will focus on seeking community input, inclusiveness, and intergenerational participation. So all the grandparents out there will hopefully be able to play with their grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Long. Crikey, that'll be a hard one to follow then with all that expertise. Well done. Other councillors? Councillor Murphy.
This is a great thing. And as everyone knows, I'm into the disability side of it. And I just really like to see that we also says in here that we look into disability areas and play space for people with disabilities. And to me, of course, looking at disability change rooms where you have play space. So you can't have one or the other. So if you've got someone in a wheelchair, they need to go somewhere for the toilets. They need a play area for themselves, or people who have got cerebral palsy and can only move an arm or something like that. So we need to be able to look after the people who need these changing places, areas, and that as well. So I implore that the officers make sure that whoever gets this job looks at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Other councillors? I will comment on this in my ward councillor's role. A situation recently within my ward of a child with autism who was under family supervision but dashed out unseen onto the road, and there was a near accident. So it raises the vexed issue of fencing. What parts should be fenced? Should there be fencing? Should certain reserves be fenced, others not fenced? And this raises a number of issues which are better dealt with strategically rather than, perhaps in the past what we've done, we've had a bit of extra money for some equipment here or there, or put a fence here or there. This gives us an opportunity to look at it strategically and to make informed, sensible decisions. I think it's fantastic to see this, and as Councillor Bell and Councillor Long and Councillor Murphy said, this is a good thing, and looking forward to it happening. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.10, something that's really dear to my heart, the adoption of the priority projects plan. Councillor seeking a motion. Thank you, Councillor Bell, and your motion.
That council adopts the priority projects plan 2022. Thank
you, Councillor Bell, and a second to that motion. Second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor Davidius. Councillor Bella, speaking to the motion.
The purpose of this motion is to adopt the Priority Projects Plan 2022. The report provides a background to the PP plan, including the engagement process, and outlines the key projects underpinning the DPP. July of last year, Council adopted and revised Priority Projects Plan, and since then, the organisation has been successful in attracting investment for 7 out of 10 projects, which is to be commended in these extremely uncertain times. So thank you very much. That's amazing. The community is already reaping multiple benefits from this investment, including progress with economic development and health wellbeing. I won't read them out, however, they are embedded in the Central Goldfields Shire Council Priority Projects Plan, say that with a mouthful of marbles, which you will find extremely well put together and articulates the plan succinctly. The PP plan has been developed following extensive community engagement, leadership and direction from Council. The document depicts an exciting vision for the future of the Shire and is an attractive and accessible document which will secure strong interest and attention for funding and investment.
Thank you, Councillor Bella. Councillor Davidius. Any other councillors?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Spiller.
Through the Mayor, I just want to add, so this has obviously changed a little bit from last priority projects. We dropped 2 items from this, which one was the water splash park and the other one was the youth hub. So these items haven't been dropped from the minds of council and councillors. These are still very important projects, but the advice given around that we just don't have the sufficient background information to kind of move forward with those funding applications. So we're still working on those, making sure that we get all the relevant information to best align us for future grant funding.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Other councillors? I do want to add, because this is something that's very dear to my heart. This is a document that every councillor and every council officer should be thoroughly proud of. It is a wonderful document that encourages investment into this shire and into council-led projects. It has been brilliantly performed. It is professionally performed. I mean, when you look at it, how could you not invest? It makes a wonderful case. We know we need investment. We've got a track record, as the CEO said earlier, we know $20 million worth of capital projects already. How good if we could double that or triple it? Well, you might not like the workload, but look, it really is. It identifies the critical projects that are ready to go in a whole range of areas. Councillor Sproul, as you've said, there are other projects that are not there, and you've identified two that are really of real interest. The Splash Park, which we know has got a following within the community, a strong following, and certainly youth services, which is very much on the agenda, and the youth hub and so on. But those will follow. Those will follow. The project list will be updated as things change. Projects hopefully get funded in a great rush. Others will replace them with ours. This is a thoroughly good document. The focus is on growth. A very positive upbeat, absolutely consistent with council plan. I am absolutely proud to be mayor of a council with a project plan like that. It's a fantastic document. Congratulations again to the officers that did a lot of hard work pulling it together, and our manager community engagement, who's had to take leave after that, I think, just to recover. But I think it's a fantastic job. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.11, the finance report, the mid-year review. Councillor seeking a motion. Thank you, Councillor Murphy, and the motion.
The council receives and notes the attached mid-year review for the 21-22 financial year. And then we also note the operating surplus of 10.7 million and a capital work spend of 20.7 million.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. A second to that motion. Thank you, Councillor Lovett. Councillor Murphy, speak to the motion, please.
So this is the mid-year review, and we've been tracking fairly well for the whole 6 months. So I'm pretty good with this. The income statement has been a forecasted surplus of 10.7 million as compared to a budget of 11.138 million. That's, in anyone's books, that's really good. The just underlying surplus now is 4% as compared to 1% in the budget. Nothing's blowing out, nothing's going under, nothing's going over, it's working well. There's 221,000 Ks of one-off or non-recurring costs have impacted the decrease in adjusted underlying result of 1.75%. As well as increased costs such as depreciation will remain higher over the coming years as depreciation. So capital works has a revised forecast of 20.7 million as compared to 20.9 million budget. 2.7 million of projects budget in 21-22 will not be started during the financial year and have been moved into 22-23. This decrease has been offset by 1.3 million of additional projects funded or otherwise, and 1.2 million of carryover projects which are part completed. But when you look at 20.7 million, the revised forecast of 20.7 million as compared to a budget of 20.9 million, that's a $200,000. I think this is an excellent situation in finance. I'm really happy with where we're tracking on that. And I just need to say to General Manager Mr. Smith that well done to you and your team on this. I always like looking at these things because I like understanding figures and how money's worked and where it goes and what happens, and it always impresses me. So I'm very happy with that. There you go.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councillor Murphy has just said, this is a very positive report. I think the thing that makes me personally happy, as it states, this is the mid-year review, so it's actually a report card on our 6 months performance. And I'm very pleased to see that the report states that council's financial position is sound and is anticipated to be sound at the end of June 2022. So that's very pleasing.
Thank you, Councillor Lovett. Other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 8.12, following that, the finance report as of January 2022. Council seeking a motion. Councillor Murphy? Seeking the motion.
I must love these finance situations.
You're championing
Love
this.
you
You're doing a great
I've
job.
got no money in my pocket. I've only got a credit card in my pocket. The council receives and notes the attached financial report for the period of the 31st of January 22.
Thank you. A seconder? Again, Councillor Lovett. This is a great team going there. Councillor Murphy, speak to the motion, please.
Laurel and Hardy. This is for January, so we've done a 6 months review. Now we're doing January, and it's as steady as we go. The ship's steady. Really happy with it. Just talked on the mid-year review, so I don't need to talk any more on it. But I'm just very happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Lovett.
Nothing to add.
Other councillors? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.13, use and development of the land for single dwelling, outbuildings and associated works at 56 Deniers Road, Bowen Vale, and is Crown Allotment 7, Section 4A, Parish of Maryborough. Seeking a motion. Councillor Lovett, any motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that council, having caused notice of planning permit application number 096/21 to be given under section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and the Central Goldfields Shire Planning Scheme, and having considered all the matters generally required, resolves to refuse a planning permit and issue a notice of decision to refuse to grant a permit for the land known and described as number 56 Deniers Road, Bowen Vale.
Thank you, Councillor Lovett. A second to that motion.
Also
Thank you,
second.
Councillor Lovett. Councillor Lovett, talking to the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've thought long and hard about this application before deciding to move the motion of refusal. I believe it is important for both the applicants and the general public to understand the reasons for refusal in a hope that this situation is not repeated. Under the Central Goldfields Shire Planning Policy Framework, one of the aims of the Rural Living Zone is to provide an opportunity for low density rural living on the periphery of Maryborough. This is to be achieved by protecting the existing neighbourhood characteristics whilst maintaining the rural ambience of the area. Put simply, the Rural Living Zone aims to provide residential opportunities by striking a balance between urban and rural living. The Rural Living Zone sets an expectation that if residential development is to occur, it can only happen on larger rural allotments. Existing homes in the immediate area of this application, Deniers Road, Logan Road and Rose Lane, have lots ranging in size from 2.25 hectares to 12 hectares. The subject size of the land for this application is well below the minimum allowed, being only 10% of the recommended size for an RLZ. As a consequence, my refusal is in three parts. One, the subject site is significantly undersized and does not satisfy the purpose of the Rural Living Zone. Two, the proposed development would have a detrimental impact on the rural character of the area. And three, the proposal does not achieve the objective of net community benefit for both present and future generations. Having stated my reasons for refusal, I must say I have great sympathy for the applicants, who I believe are genuine in their desire to experience a tree change in their lives. The house plans they submitted, along with the vision for their block, are impressive. Unfortunately, their block size is far too small and not in keeping with the local character. Whilst doing my research on this issue, I was reminded of caveat emptor, buyer beware. It is crucial that purchasers undertake exhaustive due diligence prior to signing contracts. This preparation will ensure that personal dreams and local laws are compatible and that both parties are happy with the outcome. Unfortunately, there are some unscrupulous operators out there who want to take advantage of the vulnerable with no concern for the consequences. In this particular case, I believe the developer's intentions to be honourable, but we find ourselves at an unfortunate impasse, and I fear this is not an isolated case. As a direct result of this application, Council have requested the Executive to begin a public awareness campaign for people to fully understand the importance of undertaking due diligence prior to signing a contract. Ultimately, this will save everyone a lot of heartache. Council's put in place local laws, planning schemes, zoning overlays, etc., so that everyone understands what is required when undertaking an action such as building a home. It is absolutely imperative that people undertake extensive research prior to commencing their project, so as to ensure everyone is on the same page and we don't find ourselves in the unfortunate situation that we find ourselves with this application. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lovett. Councillor Vella.
Well, as Councillor Lovett said, and I don't think I could say it any better than you did, and it was very good. This is one of those extremely difficult decisions we as councillors need to make. On one hand, we are promoting residential development, of which this beautiful home plan certainly sits within the vision we are seeking. On the other hand, we are restricted by legislative requirements. I am really sorry for the decision I need to make in regards to this application. The applications, as Councillor Lovett said, have gone through what they believe to be all due processes, and unfortunately, due to misunderstandings or similar, aren't able to realise their dream home under the current conditions, and that's at this point. I reiterate what Councillor Lovett said. As a councillor, we are bound by planning legislation, the municipal strategic statement and our planning policy framework. We cannot set a precedence by omitting those legislations and policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vella. Other councillors? Councillor Murphy.
In that area, I believe there's 6 blocks of land that will all come into that under the hectares they're supposed to come in. It just is sad that they can be sold by whoever sells them. And the plain truth is you can't build on them. And there's ones around the whole of Central Goldfields, and so all of Victoria that develop people, organisations, agents, whoever they are, sell these blocks of land, and it's STCA, but I would hazard a guess that most sellers would understand the planning of the local councils. It is just sad, and I'm those 6 out there. That's and there'll be other people who probably bought blocks out there who want to build, and it's just sad. And I can't get beyond that situation as to how these things have been sold.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Other councillors?
Can I say something?
Yes, Councillor Williams.
I have a bit of a different perspective. I feel that these councillors have a duty towards our constituents. We have a duty of care. It is true that currently we are bound by zoning as it is, but I do believe that we as a council could determine that we would like to investigate the zoning that is currently the case in most of the rural townships. There are evidence all around us of that happening in different shires. One of my favourite examples is Cardigan Village, just outside Ballarat, Snake Valley in Golden Plains.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Relevance.
Yes,
I'm going to vote against it. I'm
Okay,
gonna
you
say-
want to vote against it. Okay, that's good. Can you focus specifically though on the issue of this particular application that's before us though?
Yeah, well, I just feel that if the zoning is changed and we make the effort to get the zoning investigated and maybe changed, then these people will be allowed to build their house. It's, as we've all said, a beautiful development. It will add to the environment. It will add to the suburb. And I can only applaud nice developments and nice houses. And I feel for the people because I feel they are victims of the system. And as such, I'm going to be a no vote. I feel we should have a relook at the zoning, and then maybe in future, once that's been done 2 or 3 years from now, they can lodge a planning application again.
Thank you, Councillor Villiers. Other councillors? I think Councillor Long.
Thank you, through the Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment on Councillor de Villiers' statement, looking after our constituents and rezoning the land. What about the constituents that have already built houses on that land with the idea that they're living in a rural zone and all of a sudden the zoning's changed to residential and they've got houses around them? That was not their plan when they moved there. So you're looking after one constituent, but then perhaps penalising the others that are already there. That's all. Thank you.
Got the right to reply?
Thank you.
No.
Okay, you've had your say. Thank you, Councillor Villiers. Other councillors? I will comment as ward councillor because Barnvale sits within my ward. And all I can do is thank Councillor Lovett and Councillor Vella. Councillor Lovett, you have summarised, I think, exactly the situation. I will be voting in favour of the officer's recommendation and the motion that Councillor Lovett's put to refuse the permit. I have spent hours and hours sitting outside and looking at every aspect of that property. I have had countless representations from both various people very concerned with it, from applicants. This is, for the reasons the council has summed up, I didn't go over, this is Heartache Hill because of the way it's been sold. It is absolutely a call to do due diligence early and not assume things because only heartache follows. And it is absolutely sad, and I really feel for the applicants, but the right decision without doubt, in my view, is to refuse the permit for reasons that Councillor Lovett has said, supported by Councillor Varela, and I will be voting against, voting in favour of the motion that we refuse permit. Councillor Lovett, there's been Councillor de Villiers has spoken against the motion, so I'll give you the right to reply to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hear what my fellow councillor has said, and I have no doubt that she's absolutely genuine. However, we have an application here before us tonight that we are required to vote on tonight, and we can only make our decision on our planning laws and overlays as they exist right here, right now. The other thing I say, and I reiterate, and I hope we can write it in the sky in big letters. Every potential purchaser, just remember one thing, caveat emptor, buyer beware. It is absolutely crucial. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put the vote. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? The motion is carried. We move to notices of motion 9.1 Maryborough Aerodrome, one motion from new council facilities. Before proceeding with the motion, I do intend to comment on one aspect. Under our governance rules, section 23 is the duty of the chair. Section 23.4 says that any motion which is determined by the chair to be, and 23.4 says outside the powers of the council must not be accepted by the chair. Part B of your motion, Councillor de Villiers, on Maryborough Aerodrome says a report from council officers on progress resolving the leases.
Yep.
Councillor de Villiers, that is not a power of the council.
Yep.
We work by collaboration. I have to say we have been incredibly supportive CEO, and we work together with the CEO all the time, to request, to ask for things, to talk about things. But if it ever comes to a formal requirement to seek progress on the implementation of a council decision, under section 19(1)(c) of the Local Government Act, the sole power is to the mayor. Section 19(1)(c) to require the chief executive officer to report to the council on the implementation of a council decision. It isn't a council decision. It's not a council decision. That power has been specifically given to the mayor and the mayor alone. Not that I intend to be using it because cooperation has been the way that we operate, but it is simply just not appropriate for that to go. So I'm determining under section 23 that is outside the powers of the council, that part B. So what I'm suggesting to you, Councillor, I'm very happy for you to proceed with parts A and C, which would become the new part B, but I'm not prepared to allow part B to proceed. That is a report from council officers on progress resolving the leases. But otherwise, that would just mean A, and what you have as C becomes new. But you're happy with that?
May I respond?
You can respond, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I wasn't aware of the fact that B wasn't acceptable. I submitted my notice of motion well in advance, 3 weeks in advance, in fact, before this meeting. So there was enough time for people to correct me, and I'm more than happy to withdraw.
Okay, so you'll present the motion as A and B.
Yep.
So Councillor de Villiers, I'll invite you now to present your motion, with now A and B. That is the old C with deleting part B. I'll invite you to present the motion.
Thank you. I would just like to reiterate that, the council may lodge a notice of motion on any matter the councillor wants to be considered. In December 2020, council determined that the airport's a valuable asset.
Now, Councillor de Villiers, just on point of order, can you now first of all present your motion as you have it there?
This is the introduction to my.
Present your motion, please, and then I'll get a second, and then I'll invite you to speak to the motion. You can cover all those points that you think are relevant to it. But the motion has to be clear on the table before, and a seconder before I can let you proceed to talk to it.
I'm proposing the following motion, that the Aerodrome Task Force be requested to present a report relating to the progress in responding to the task force brief, and that the report be presented by the chair of the task force. And then secondly, that the Aerodrome be recognised as a significant project and funding allocated in the 2022-23 budget to facilitate and support development of the Aerodrome as a community asset per the recommendations made by the task force.
Thank you, Councillor de Villiers. Is there a second to the motion? Councillor Lovett, thank you. Councillor de Villiers, talking to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lovett. I do appreciate you seconding the motion. I just feel that we as councillors are all responsible and for any decisions made at council. 14 months ago now, we all decided that the aerodrome was important to us. it took 6 months to get the task force up and running. As per their charter, they were supposed to report to council on a monthly basis. That has not happened. But I have confirmed that the Aerodrome Task Force is ready and able to deliver such a report to council when requested. And I feel it's such an important aspect of our work. So the resolution of the challenge the airport presented to the Shire and newly elected council has been a very public one, and in many ways has become the most visible symbolic yardstick of the ability of the council to bring very difficult and complex problems to a successful conclusion. The Airport Task Force demonstrated great skill and community awareness, working as volunteers to complete their remit, which I believe they have. We should recognise and value their good work by allowing a personal presentation by the chair of the task force. It will also, with him present, allow the council to ask for clarification on any aspects of the report presented.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to reserve my right to talk, but I will take the opportunity now. I looked around my fellow councillors and I saw some surprise when I seconded this motion. And I think you need to understand why I have done that. I believe it's very important for councillors to have a voice. And if they've got something to say, to be allowed to say it in this forum. Councillor de Villiers has proven ever since she's been on council that she has a strong affinity with the airport and has worked tirelessly for it. And if she is concerned about certain aspects, I personally don't want to see her or any other councillor feel like that they're being prevented from saying something in this forum, which is what we're elected for. Having said that, I firmly believe notice of motions are a powerful tool, probably the most powerful tool we have as a councillor. And as such, they should be used very sparingly. With this notice of motion, I'm conflicted. On the one hand, I agree with almost everything contained in the motion. On the other hand, I also believe that every issue raised in a notice of motion has already been actioned, is already being worked on. That's why I'm conflicted. So do I vote for it because I agree with it? Or do I vote against it because it's superfluous? As I previously stated, a notice of motion is a powerful tool. And part of that power is a notice of motion requires a measurable outcome. In part A, point 1, the motion requires reports to be presented. But my question is when? Next week? Next month? Next year? Where is the measure? And part B, which used to be part C, which is my largest concern, and I ask my fellow councillors to read this very carefully. If passed, this motion will commit council to allocate funding in the 2022-2023 budget as per the recommendations by the task force. But as we sit here tonight as a council, we haven't seen the recommendations of the task force, nor do we know what they are. However, I reiterate, if this motion is carried, we are fully committed to implementing all the recommendations in the report without any discussion. And I believe that is putting the cart before the horse, and that's why I will be voting against this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lovett. Other councillors? Councillor Bella.
I will be voting against this motion as I totally agree with what Councillor Lovett said. This is a forum where you can raise things, but you do need to be cautious. I was baffled as to why this notice of motion was on the agenda, given the content, as you said, and the context of the motion has been previously endorsed unanimously by council at a general council meeting. The terms of reference, and which is commonly known as the brief, was also endorsed at the same meeting and continues to be methodically followed by the Extreme Professional Volunteer Task Force and their membership, all holding extensive knowledge and expertise of aerodrome operations. And a lot of this has been affected by the impact of COVID, their meeting dates, etc., etc. So in regards to part A and part 2, A1 and 2 of the motion, and that is the Aerodrome Task Force be requested to present a report relating to the progress in responding to the task force brief, I am to understand the request report has already been scheduled for the March general meeting, and that will be presented by the chair of the task force. We're not doing, you've withdrawn part B, but part C, council does indeed recognise the aerodrome as a significant project which will require a great deal of funding. However, until we are totally aware of the significant costs to rehabilitate our prize asset, we cannot commit money of which I suspect we will require a grant from both levels of government. Unfortunately, this will not be realised overnight. Finally, in supporting the motion, it would demonstrate our lack of understanding for local government processes. For these reasons, I cannot support this motion as we will be repeating what has already been approved, and I don't wish to waste officers' valuable time and money as was outlined by Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Councillor Lavella. Other councillors? Anyone speaking to it? Look, I just want to make two comments. First of all, just for clarification, when council in a briefing session indicated they thought a report would be helpful at this stage for the task force, I phoned the chair of the task force, Neil Arbuthnot, that evening, and Neil immediately said, of course, I would be delighted to present the report. That was done. He did ask if he could present it in person. We did have some technology problems last time, which we'd all sympathise with team Manny's keen to use a PowerPoint presentation. Sean. There was absolute willingness, and I have a major problem about megaphone communications. That when we ask people to do things, just like I have no intention of hopefully ever using the power. I don't expect ever to use the mayoral power to require the CEO. I'll say, can we do this? We'll talk about the CEO and she'll talk about the issues. That's how we do things. We don't use megaphones. And I don't think, yes, no, those of the motion are a special and very, very important asset of the community, of a councillor, but it shouldn't be for megaphone communication. We've told the committee, I appreciate Councillor De Villiers, you wanted the committee to be aware. That's been reported. I've done a councillor column. I've been on it's been in Facebook on the council's post that we're doing this. I've been on the Goldfields FM. In fact, you joined me for one of the sessions after Australia Day and we talked about this. This is all out there. But the other thing is finally on the budget, we bring things to budget for deliberation. We don't start determining budget. Whether it's $5 or $5 million, we will look at everything when it comes on the table. I will not be voting in favour of this motion. Councillor De Villiers, right of reply. Unless there's any other councillors? I'm sorry, I didn't think of it before I spoke. Councillor De Villiers, right of reply.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was sort of the outcome I expected, but I am pleased to hear that the committee or the task force has been requested to report at the March meeting, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So thank you, and thanks for your input. And yeah, so I'm happy. It's all good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. Item 9.2, leases and licenses policy. Just by way of introduction, Councillor Villiers, there
Yep.
is an existing policy.
No.
I'll take my mask off. Adopted by council in 2019, a 3-year policy. Was when the council was under administration. It did follow considerable community input, and that policy is due for review by the end of this year. Councillors have been briefed on it last year, I think on at least 1 or 2 occasions. So I do make that point. There is an existing policy that deals with licenses and leases. Councillor de Villiers, your motion.
Just find it. Where is it? It's got my speech. Good. The motion, the development of a lease and license policy with clear definitions of the exact meaning of a lease and license, as well as subleases and sublicenses. This policy should also have clear guidelines regarding the management of leases and licenses in 4 areas of asset management. Land and buildings owned by council, land and buildings owned by DELP, where the council is the appointed committee of management, land owned by DELP and managed by community groups and committees, land owned by DELP and the building on the land belonging to council.
Okay, thank you to Councillor Villiers. Is there seconds to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Councillor de Villiers talking to the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Brian. Asset management has fascinated me from day one as councillor, being on council. We've recently had a flurry of activity where there was confusion with regards to leases and licenses. Asset management is one of the most significant tasks of council. Assets are identified in the risk register presented tonight as high. So we do have a lot of work to do when it comes to assets. Policies need to be easy to interpret and follow, enabling consistent decision-making and transparency. We do have an occupancy policy, but I believe the occupancy policy that we currently have and that's being revised, I think was presented in September, August, is difficult to interpret and will not pass the pub test. And we are managing a host of different types of properties belonging to different entities, managed by different groups and communities. So historically, lots of different arrangements exist, and this needs to be addressed. When does a committee incorporate? When does a committee become a community asset committee? When does an community asset committee become incorporated? What kind of management structure is going to be recommended for reserve committees, to name but a few? I believe that we need to have a licenses and leases policy to be developed, which should then be used to support the occupancy policy, as well as an asset management framework that still needs to be developed. That's.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Sproul.
Through the Mayor. Thank you very much, Councillor de Villiers. Look, I have no doubt the amount of tireless effort and work you've put into this, Councillor de Villiers. And I do agree there's probably some work there that needs doing, but I'm also mindful of the workload of council in its current form, and knowing that the current policy is due for renewal. I would urge you to maybe communicate with your fellow councillors on key points that you may want to get across, and we can work on that as an engagement going forwards when we update the occupancy policy later on in the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Other councillors?
Question
Councillor
to a
Bella.
manager. When is the current policy due for renewal?
It was 2 years ago.
Hang on.
No, I've got it, Mr. Smith, because I've looked at it. It's November, I believe, November 2022 is but take any updates on that. That's my understanding from looking at the policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is lost. Urgent business, councillors? Other business? We have none.
Yes,
Sorry.
other business? So, next Friday, March the 4th, Councillor Sproul and Councillor Murphy are going to get naked in their hair. I hope everyone out there can see me. It's all going. It's all going. So I think Councillor Sproul has a bit of an issue at home, but the only thing is how I have an issue with it will be the mirror. So Shave for a Cure, next Friday, March the 4th at the Highland Society. I think if you get onto their websites and donate some money to us, I think we'll be in the paper next week talking about it as well. So mine's about 2013. So I'm going to be looking like a bowling ball again. But it's good, it's a great situation. I've got a few friends who've got some blood cancers and other cancers. So I'm looking forward to it. But the mullet is going, so that's how it is. I'm going to look tidy. So thank you, Wayne, and we're going to go and do it together. Do you want to talk?
Can I just put a bit of a disclaimer to my wife? The issue is she's not too happy about me doing it. But yes, it hasn't led me to get naked with another man. I'm merely shaving my beard off. It's I think the last time I did that was 2006.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was tears that followed. It was on a flip of a coin, and then she wasn't happy with me after that.
So just wanted to get that across, Mr. Mayor, that we're both doing that for the community.
Councillor Bell, I think, wants to add to crazy.
Yeah, I just want to add to the team. I'm not going to join you, get shaved. However, it is 4th of March.
Yes.
It is at the Maryborough Highland Society. Gerard Murphy, Councillor Wayne Sproul. There's Sean Dewhurst, he's a operations manager. Christine Greenwood. She's from Daisy Hill. Laura, staff member, and Jim Dewar, a board member. So you can, as you said, register on the site and donate. Look, I would donate $1 million to see you totally naked around the head, Councillor Murphy. So it's Team Highland.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We know. And Councillor Murphy, the thought of you as a bowling ball will be something that is intriguing. But in any case, no, an important opportunity, and our community does support these things so well. We have no confidential business. Before I close the meeting, I need to note both a happy and a sad occasion. And that is a happy occasion in that that we are going to. This is the last meeting for a very good future for Ms. Rebecca Stockwell, who leaves us to go to Maston Ranges Council, and a really exciting job and a role. That's the happy part of it, and you probably won't miss the travel from coming up here. And I mean, a great council with some really exciting challenges and an opportunity to use your planning skills to full advantage. You've been with us since May 2018, and you have brought a depth of wisdom, experience in the planning role, but also in management oversight. I've always enjoyed working with you, and I've seen the excellent relationship you've had with all the councillors. And you've got well known for your drives around the place, showing councillors and working through things. I think Councillor Lovett's going to miss those drives around Maryborough, looking at some of the issues around Carisbrook. I've always enjoyed, particularly too, if you've been acting CEO, and I've been working with you very closely on and valued your judgment and your advice, but also a good dash of humour, which is always important. important. So look, I really wish you well on behalf of council. Thank you for several years of very valuable contribution to this shire, to this council, and to wish you incredible happiness and success in your new role at Basson Ranges Shire Council. And do see us from time to time. We will catch up, and it will be fun, and you'll have a great time. But we'll miss you, but we wish you really well. Thank you very much. So, councillors, that concludes the business. At 7:15, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much. Thank you for those in our virtual gallery. Appreciate it. Thank you.